They've got no money, says the New York Times. In chaos, the financial situation has grown so bleak that top officials have discussed whether they might need to borrow money. Leading Democrats offered a slow trickle of critical reaction to the Supreme Court's decision. Once again, politicians and judges are inserting themselves in exam rooms. For minors, you weirdo! Democrats are broke and they're in retreat. They've got no money, says the New York Times. In chaos and desperate for cash. And this gets worse because they're also backtracking on some of their key issues. In retreat on the latest ruling about the T's, who are not going to be deemed to be a quasi-suspect, suspect, or protected class, thanks to John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett out there who said, no. No extra benefits for the T's, all right? They're not being discriminated against. And the Democrats just quiet about it. Like, where are they all screaming from the rooftops about how horrendous this is? They don't want to talk about it anymore. So that issue, like Pogs, might be kind of evaporating out of the psyche in the foreseeable future. But here's the background on this, and it's hilarious. The DNC is in chaos and desperate for cash. And Tim Burchett made an interesting quip about this. Says, what's so funny is, funding for USAID stops on all of this. In an unrelated story, the Democratic Party can't pay its salary. Weird how that works. The gravy train gets cut off, and all of a sudden the Democrats are like, where's our money? Yeah, we know. And when all the illegals are gone too, where your vote's going to be. And when the Chinese fake IDs are sent in, when those are cut off, and you can't rig elections under fake pandemics anymore, and then have a corrupt FBI cover the whole thing up and lie to everybody about it, they're in trouble. The DNC is in chaos. Under its new leader, Ken Martin, the DNC has been plagued by infighting. He has no money. Says just months into his tenure, Ken Martin, the DNC, is explaining the financial situation has grown so bleak that top officials have discussed whether they might need to borrow money. Fundraising for major donors has slowed sharply. At the same time, he's expanded commitments. He's even going into Guam. Fellow Democrats are grumbling about this dude who quietly accepted a raise after taking the post, like a typical bureaucrat, has been badly distracted by internal battles, including with David Hogg, 25-year-old, and there was a leak of some embarrassing audio. Martin was questioning him, saying, I have no power because of you, little punk. They say a bunch of labor leaders are also bailing. That was soon followed by news that two of the country's most influential labor leaders are gone, who represent 3.2 million workers, were also leaving the DNC. Rufus, who served as the finance chairman of Kamala, suggested Democrats were being sent the wrong message. He says what they're seeing here is headline after headline of incompetence and infighting. And I think that is a real problem, not just for the DNC, but the larger Democratic brand. Well, I think that for them personally, I think that Jasmine Crockett is the solution, and we support her for the Democrat presidential nomination. Now, worse than some high school student drama, because that's what the Democrats are. It's a high school musical, is the Democratic Party, basically. All fighting for the lead role. No. Trans should have it. No. Abai should have it. No. Aziz Imjur should have it. No. Part of the bumpy beginning appears to be a fallout for the fight over this, which we don't really care about, but they're having a hard time. Party has no money. 6 people briefed on the fundraising who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss this frankly, said big donors who were an essential part of this had been very slow to give some money. He says he's got about $1 million in monthly spending, but they're out of money. Senior officials have discussed the possibility of borrowing money. Martin acknowledged that is being discussed right now. Certainly not our plan, but I don't know, we might need to tap into a line of credit. Do it, see it. Yeah, why not? They did it for the whole country. It's free money. Just go print it, guys, right? Still, the party's total cash reserves shrank by $4 million. RNC swelled by $29 million. They go in the opposite direction. The party out of power often falls behind the one holding the White House because they get the grift now. Still, the current financial gap is large. $18 million on hand compared with $67 million for the RNC. In the first 4 months of the year, only 3 people gave 100 G's to the DNC. That's it. No more money. Fighting off a sneeze. Everything that Ken has done, regardless of the drama, has been the right moves, and they're broke. So obviously they're not exactly the right moves. Thank you for your enthusiasm. So that's happening. They also are backtracking from the trans stuff, which is wild. Like, we're even losing women on this crap who don't want giant dudes dunking on them in volleyball. You see here, leading Democrats offered a slow trickle of critical reaction to the Supreme Court's decision. Hours after the ruling arrived, some top Democrats like Schumer of New York, the minority leader, had denounced the decision as part of a cruel crusade against trans Americans. Okay, this was a law that protected minors from having their genitals either chemically or surgically removed from their bodies. By many others, including key players, many others don't want to talk about it. Even Gouveia, he doesn't want to talk about it. Well, maybe he was. He was posting on social media about the National Guard, not about the T's. Man, I thought he was an ally to the T's. Josh Shapiro had thoughts about housing, didn't want to talk about the T's. Wes Moore of Maryland shared a celebration of pride, but said nothing about the new court ruling. Even Democrats who condemned the ruling tried to turn the focus elsewhere. Schumer suggested that Republicans were using the topic to divert attention from other things. Doesn't even really care about the T's. The careful calculus reflected how the fraught topic of T's has tormented Democrats for months. They took off more than they could chew, with Republicans putting them firmly back on the back foot. Many party leaders now believe that liberal politicians took positions in recent years that deviated too far away from the average voter. You're kidding. No kidding. Last year, Trump painted Kamala as far left, saying she wanted to give illegal aliens lapadigophomies and pay for it. She is for they, them. Trump is for you, declared a widely circulated ad. So good. Declared a widely circulated Trump ad. Kamala is for them, President, they, them. President Trump is for you. Amazing. Since her loss, they're trying to backtrack on this. Even nearly 80% of Americans, including 67% of Democrats, believe that the T female athletes, dudes, should not be allowed to participate in women's sports. Look at those numbers. 80% of Americans, even 67% of Democrats are like, crap. A survey from, remember how much they were shoving that down everybody's face like 6 months ago? Let's say a year ago. It became pretty contentious during the election, obviously, but a survey, you're a bigot, your Democrats were screaming at you. They added the T's, LGBT, then expialidocious. Many elected Democrats still see themselves as important offenders. Brittany Peterson and Summer Lee also came out on it. Say, we're under attack. As a mom, I can't imagine the pain that these trans kids are going through. So what we'll do is just remove their genitals. Great. Pritzker of Illinois said, we have protections to meet this moment. Okay, well, we'll see, because the Supreme Court says that you can do it and you can pass these laws. And Booty, he said, well, I do think we need to revisit some of the things that we have to say policy-wise that we haven't kept up in the times. That doesn't mean we throw vulnerable people under the bus. Nobody's saying, anyways, nobody's saying that. We're saying we don't want our children to have mutilated bodies. Democrats, major medical groups, others, right? Now, The Hill, I pulled this article up to show kind of the opposite. New York Times is saying they're all kind of mum on it. The Hill is saying no. They're denouncing the gender-affirming care ruling, but I think the New York Times is a little bit more accurate. They're using it as a cudgel to say it's a distraction and other things. Or you've got Sarah, so-called McBride, don't know what his original name was, says, once again, politicians and judges are inserting themselves in exam rooms for minors. You weirdo. Not into your exam room, into a room of a minor and a doctor who wants to do weird things to their body. Strange. But Sarah is that one dude in Congress. So we got this, they're saying they're responding. So of course the usual people would respond on all of that, but we see other people are leaving. So one of the main departures with the Democrats was this person, this entity called Randy, who, so Randy Weingarten, she's also leaving. Leaders of the two nations' largest unions are gone. Randy is also gone. Represent a significant erosion of trust in the DNC. It's the official arm of the National Party. In their resignation messages, they blamed Ken Martin. Both labor leaders had supported his rival in the chairmanship, but he won. In her resignation letter that they just got last weekend, Weingarten wrote that she would decline his offer to reappoint her. I'm a proud Democrat, and a lot of people are wondering, it might just be the money. Like there's no more money for them. They don't have any money to funnel all of this. All that USAID money was cut off. The grift is over, and now they're all abandoning ship for greener pastures, literally. Even the No Kings protest, which we signed up for just to get the email so we could just see what they're doing, They also have another event coming up, but they're all virtual events, right? So here's what they're doing. It was such a dud and a bust that they're just, okay, we're going to do a couple of virtual Zoom meetings, July, August, whatever, saying, okay, so that's it. They are struggling. Even their little AstroTurf with the Walmart Heiress event over the celebration of the Army's 250th birthday was a total failure. They're in chaos. They're desperate. They're broke. They have fissures all over the place, and the winning continues.